Leaks. They're something that we're pretty accustomed to here on this channel if you've been around long enough. And I stumbled across this article from none other than What Culture going over the 10 biggest leaks in Doctor Who history. And I thought, hey, I do leaks on Doctor Who, I'm a Doctor Who YouTube channel, that might be a fun video to pass the time. But if you enjoy regular Doctor Who content, feel free to subscribe. We're trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we're at 18,000, like 40 something, so we're like 60 subscribers away from 18,100, which would be our next goal, so any support would be greatly appreciated on that front. I also have a Twitter and an Instagram if you'd like to follow, the link will be in the description below. But with that said, let's get into the video. So yeah, as I said, this is the 10 biggest Doctor Who leaks ever. Now I might not actually know some of these. Let's see what my leaky knowledge is like. Apparently if Doctor Who was a boat, it would have sunk during the Moffat era. It's a universally acknowledged truth that Doctor Who guarantees headlines, and in the constant search for some attention-grabbing material, publications sometimes ignore press embargoes or even cultivate relationships with on-set insiders to get scoops on the future of the show. Yeah, I mean, who would do something like that? That's frankly just ridiculous. These leaks aren't always deliberate. However, some of Doctor Who's biggest leaks have been purely accidental. An upload to the wrong server here, an unchecked mark box there, and all hell might just break loose. The BBC itself can reveal information early, such as when it released the 1995 Paul McGann movie on VHS before it aired in the UK. I actually didn't know that happened. And who could forget when John Sim was shown off to the UK's press during the press launch of Doctor Who Series 10. Spoilers, you guys. Yeah, I still think that's one of their biggest marketing mistakes, when they put, like, John Sim in all of the promo material for Series 10. Like, imagine how cool the reveal that guy on the ship in World Enough Time was the Master would have been had we not known that John Sim was coming back. But I digress. With so many leaks over the years, Doctor Who wouldn't make it from one side of a narrow canal to another if it was a boat, which thankfully it isn't. From whole episodes releasing early to some major 50th anniversary spoilers, here are 10 of the biggest leaks in the show's history. 10. Series 11 leak months before broadcast. The Chibnall era of Doctor Who has been notoriously tight-lipped about what fans can expect from the series to series. When that approach worked, it gave us exciting reveals like Sacha Dhawan as the Master. Fun fact, Sacha Dhawan as the Master also leaked, or I guess was kind of rumoured before that was broadcast, as was Joe Martin as the Fugitive Doctor. I don't think we had a name to put to the Fugitive Doctor, but I think we had some idea that a pre-Hartnell incarnation was going to exist, so that's a fun fact. When it didn't work, fans had to make do with underwhelming trailer that rattled off the names of guest actors. Yeah, the Chibnall era approach to marketing, I've said before, I will not miss it. At the same time though, the Chibnall era hasn't been free of leaks and spoilers that have troubled its predecessors. Early scenes from Jodie Whittaker's debut story, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, leaked online in June 2018. 4 months before its broadcast in October. The BBC even went to court over the leak, issuing a subpoena to one of the websites responsible. The leaked footage didn't do anything to lessen the interest in the first female Doctor though. The Woman Who Fell to Earth became the most watched Doctor Who debut ever, with 10.96 million viewers in the UK alone. So here's a fun fact that a lot of you won't know. Ages ago, long before, this channel was ever a thing, one of my very first forays into Doctor Who leakdom was actually posting that clip onto a YouTube channel to show people because I thought it was pretty cool. Of course, the BBC very quickly took it down. Sorry, BBC, I didn't mean to. I mean, I did, but you know what? It was years ago. I'm a changed man, please. Number 9. Peter Davison accidentally discovers his replacement. The casting of a new Doctor is always something that's shrouded in secrecy until the moment's right, or until the bookmakers mysteriously stash the odds-on bits of Jodie Whittaker or Peter Capaldi. The departing Doctor is usually among the first people to find out, with Jodie Whittaker learning about Ncuti Gatwa just before the casting announcement was made public in May. This is also the truth for the classic era, albeit by accident. Producer John Nathan Turner was preparing for the departure of the 5th Doctor Peter Davison, and he was taken with Colin Baker following his previous appearance in Arc of Infinity, and had met the actor on several occasions since. So the two men had a series of meetings about the direction Colin Baker wanted to take the Doctor. After one such meeting, Baker and JNT stopped at the Bush Hotel for a drink, and it was there that they just so happened to bump into none other than Peter Davison. Naturally, this made the next few filming days of Warriors of the Deep pretty darn awkward. Davison told JNT he'd guessed Colin Baker would be replacing him, because Nathan Turner hated the Bush Hotel, so why else would he be there? And also because of Colin's departing words when he left Arc of Infinity, remember, the name's Baker. Oh damn, I had no idea that one was actually a thing. I had no idea that Colin Baker and JNT ran into Peter Davison at the same hotel, thus basically showing to Peter who his replacement was. That's pretty cold when you think about it. Like, imagine just being at a hotel, you've just had a long day's work, avoiding the murker, and then you have to find out that you're being replaced with your boss just chilling out at the bar. That's kind of savage to me, I don't know. Number 8, The Witchfinders leaks early. One of the highlights of the Jodie Whittaker era is The Witchfinders by Joy Wilkinson. It's a classic Doctor Who historical that is one of the few stories to touch on the fact that Doctor is now a woman, and it was also released early. Due to an error in updating Series 11 on Amazon Prime, users could watch The Witchfinders a few days early, but there was a price to pay, that being the actual week's episode Kablam wasn't available to watch. However, the subtitles still existed and ran alongside The Witchfinders when users selected closed captioning, leading to a confusing situation for all concerned. The error was swiftly rectified after fans bragged about watching The Witchfinders 3 days early on Twitter. The BBC quickly removed the episode and launched an investigation, which presumably led to a poor staff member receiving a slap on the wrist. Yeah, so I vaguely remember this. I remember some people saying that it was perhaps due to the fact that maybe Amazon was unhappy with Kablam kind of being an anti-Amazon episode, so they released Witchfinders as an act of revenge. I don't think that would have been the case, but I remember that being something that was speculated at the time, which is funny because Kablam really isn't that anti-Amazon when you actually look at it. You know, there are far more blatant commentaries on sort of the Amazon work environment than that episode of Doctor Who, so I doubt it was that. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. It's weird actually because I kind of forget how much of Series 11 did legitimately leak, because I remember so many leaks about that just didn't turn out to be true. Obviously, everyone remembers Percy the Cat, rumours about, like, Captain Jack coming back in Series 11, which was one series early, you know, stuff like that. But I always forget that a lot of this did legitimately leak early, which is quite interesting. Number 7, the 60th anniversary surprising monsters revealed by on-set photos. So this is, I'm guessing, in reference to the fact that what we assume to be Beep the Meep and the Wraith Warriors were spotted on the set of the 60th anniversary, which I wouldn't call one of the biggest leaks ever. I mean, villains are always kind of spotted on set. I don't know whether that's one of the biggest, but, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe What Culture thinks it's a bigger leak than I do. I would say, you know, Bernard Cribbin's in character as Wilf is a bigger thing, which apparently they mentioned. If there's one thing that Russell T Davies should have remembered from his previous era, it's that location filming inevitably leads to plot details, returning monsters, and actors being leaked. It's presumably for that reason that the casting of David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and Yasmin Finney in the 60th specials was announced to the world the day before they arrived on location. The first day of filming for Tennant and Tate predictably caught the attention of fans with smartphones, who flocked to the set. Photos were snapped of much missed Bernard Cribbin in character as Wilf, as well as Donna's mother Sylvia, and her husband Sean. It's now a foregone conclusion that Finney is now playing Donna and Sean's daughter Rose. However, RTD clearly underestimated the appeal of Doctor Who magazine's classic comic strip villain Beep the Meep. The photos of Beep and the insectoid aliens that are hunting him down predictably lit up social media, with fans speculating about what Davies was potentially remaking classic Doctor Who comic The Star Beast. Time will tell. Yeah, I wouldn't call this the biggest one. I would say Bernard Cribbin's being a surprise was like a sort of bigger leak than Beep the Meep and the Wraith Warriors, but, you know, maybe that's just me. 6. The name of the Doctor is sent out early. Actually, I do remember this one. I remember in interviews Stephen Moffat talking about this. This is pretty funny. We all know how exciting it is when you pre-order one of the Doctor Who Collection Blu-ray box sets and it arrives on Saturday morning before release. That's a whole weekend of watching Doctor Who. However, imagine if the Doctor Who box set that dropped on your doormat wasn't a classic you'd already seen multiple times, and was a series finale that introduced a previously unknown Doctor. That's exactly what happened in 2013, when a production error meant that fans who had pre-ordered the second half of Series 7 received it before Name of the Doctor had aired. This meant that they knew exactly who the Doctor's name was. Was it Keith? Or something completely unpronounceable. The BBC leaped into action, pleading with those lucky fans not to spoil the episode. For the majority, Stephen Moffat also offered to release a video of Matt Smith and David Tennant after the episode if fans kept quiet. Thankfully they did, and news of John Hurt's incarnation and true meaning of the episode's title largely remained unspoiled in wider fandom. So yeah, that's really cool actually, you know, it's sort of an event of like fans actually finding something out and keeping it secret, you know, at the BBC's request. It was really nice, and, you know, them getting a little reward out of it. It's really nice. I really like this story. It's really quite heartwarming. I remember Stephen Moffat saying, you know, we don't do anything in half measures here. We, you know, leak in 1080p or nothing, which I think is pretty funny and very, very in character for Stephen Moffat, the showman that he was. 5. Tom Baker spoils his 50th anniversary cameo. I don't remember this. Tom Baker is a great storyteller, and if you've been a Doctor Who fan for long enough, you've probably heard a lot of them multiple times. Story of grandmother's tingling bosoms, pretending to cry at Catholic funerals, for Monterey Grain as a child, and his hilarious impression of painter Francis Bacon. So it was something of a surprise when Tom broke the habit of a lifetime by giving the Huffington Post an exclusive in the run-up to his Doctor Who return in 2013. I am in the special. I'm not supposed to tell you that, but I tell you that very willingly, and specifically, the BBC told me not to tell anybody, but I'm telling you straight away. Though this was revealed 4 days prior to Day of the Doctor, it still managed to remain secret to most Doctor Who fans, who were probably too busy finalising their anniversary plans, or perhaps they'd become so familiar with Tom's tall tales that they chalked it up to his mischievous nature. Thankfully, despite Tom Baker's indiscreet interview, his reveal as the curator retained its power, becoming one of the most spine-tingling moments in modern Doctor Who. Yeah, I genuinely had no idea that this leaked beforehand. It was a massive surprise to me and most people I knew who watched the episode at the time. So yeah, the fact that Tom Baker just outright said it, I think the thing is with Tom is, and I think it's one thing I'll always respect about him, is he just doesn't give a damn. He will just say what he wants. Like, he's Tom Baker, what are you gonna do? Like, you're not gonna get him out of the special because everyone wants to see Tom back and you've already filmed it. So yeah, I really respect that he just said it anyway. It's quite funny. 4. Christopher Eccleston debut hits the internet 3 weeks in advance. After a 16-year break, Doctor Who returned as a continuing series on March 26, 2005. Despite the unwanted intrusion of Graham Norton, it became a runaway success that audiences are still enjoying 17 years later. In 2022, Doctor Who has been back on our screens for longer than it ever was away. However, in the wasteland of the 1990s and early 2000s, fans could be forgiven for being impatient to see Christopher Eccleston's first episode as the Doctor. On 8th of March 2005, it was reported that Eccleston's Doctor Who debut had been leaked online. The source leak originated in Canada, whose Canadian Broadcasting Corporation was a production partner on the revived series Doctor Who. Eccleston even recorded links for each of the episodes in Series 1. Okay, so there's a video showing the links there. It wasn't a completely finished version of Rose, as Murray Gould's arrangement of the iconic theme tune hadn't been added to the title sequence. Instead, it included a classic version of the iconic Delia Derbyshire arrangement of Ron Groener's theme. In the years that followed, it has been speculated that the leaking of Rose was an attempt at guerrilla marketing to gauge the opinions of hardcore Doctor Who fans ahead of broadcast. It's probably an overly romanticised view of what was likely an excited fan working at CBC who was keen to share RTD's bold new vision for Doctor Who. So that's actually an interesting point, you know, and obviously we don't know for definite about some of these, but like what companies will do, and it has been proven that they do, is basically quote-unquote leak things to the public to kind of gauge public opinion before they make things accessible to everyone. And if that was the case with Series 1, I mean, it would kind of make sense. I mean, you know, it was a big risky venture, and it's something that I could see them probably doing, but yeah, it probably was just someone who was excited to show it off. But yeah, that's fascinating. I had no idea that Christopher Eccleston's debut got leaked online. Quite frankly, you know, I thought the internet would have been in too much of its early stages for that to even be a possibility, but apparently not. Series 8 scripts and episodes leaked in error. I remember this. I remember Series 8 episodes, I think Deep Breath, I think Robot of Sherwood, and I want to say one of the others leaked in black and white. And it was interesting with Robot of Sherwood because they cut out a scene, I think, where someone gets decapitated by one of the robots or someone gets executed by one of the robots, something like that, because of an actual real-world event that happened in Britain at the time. I can't remember exactly what it was, but let's see if they mention it. Where on Earth is Marcello Camargo? The name became legendary among Doctor Who fans in 2014 when it was embezzled across the incomplete black and white footage of Peter Capaldi's first 2 episodes. Okay, so it was Into the Dalek as well then, okay. According to the BBC, the episodes, along with the first 5 scripts of Series 8, were sent to BBC Worldwide's Latin American headquarters in Miami to be translated ahead of broadcast. Marcello Camargo was believed to be the subtitler tasked with performing that job. The footage leaked was the work print version, lacking fully rendered special effects, and all in black and white. Essentially, it was like watching a reconstruction of missing episodes from the 1960s. Camargo was innocent of any wrongdoing, and it was believed that the BBC's worldwide Miami server was hacked. While it soured Peter Capaldi's highly anticipated debut as the Doctor, the leaks were swiftly reported to the BBC by concerned fans, who clearly wanted to wait and see the episodes finished as intended. In a statement at the time, the BBC said, "We'd like to thank the amazing Doctor Who fans who are continuing to keep fan sites and social media spoiler-free. Not sure what fan sites they've been visiting." Yeah, that was a mad one. I swear Robot of Sherwood leaked as well, but I could be wrong. But I definitely remember Deep Breath, and probably Into the Daleks, so that's interesting. Ah, this is what I was involved in, I remember this! 2. Jodie Whittaker's regeneration appears online. So yeah, what this was we covered it, you know, a few weeks ago even, it wasn't even that long ago, but yeah, basically what happened was iTunes had little sort of preview images for videos for Power of the Doctor, because for some reason you can buy videos on iTunes, which I didn't even know was a thing, but if you went on iTunes for a brief time, you could see a screenshot from Jodie Whittaker's Regeneration, and everyone went mad reporting on it, myself included. And yeah, kind of mad. Jodie Whittaker's regeneration was the subject of great speculation. Who would she regenerate into, David Tennant or Ncuti Gatwa? The answer to that question thankfully remained a secret until the closing moments of Power of the Doctor, when the 14th Doctor found himself in the body of the 10th. However, a low-res image of the regeneration itself accidentally went up on iTunes, presumably due to an accidental early upload or a pesky automated screen grab. The image showed the 13th Doctor atop a cliff, regenerating. While it wasn't a massive spoiler, it did give an indication of the different direction the team went in for Jodie Whittaker's final moments. Firstly, the Doctor has finally remembered to not regenerate while the TARDIS is in flight, which vastly reduces the risks of the Doctor's ship crash landing in 2023. And secondly, it's quite a dramatic and poetic image that a low-res screen grab doesn't quite do justice to. The 13th Doctor stood by her TARDIS, regenerating as the sun sets. It's a poignant and beautiful moment. It was a small leak and could have been much worse, but it risked ruining an amazing climax to the Whittaker Chibnall era. Yeah, wild that this one happened and that I was very involved at this time. And then number one, Christopher Eccleston's departure leaked days after Rose. Given that the BBC's response to this leak has often been cited as Eccleston's reason for not wanting to return to the role of the Doctor, it's fair to call this moment one of the biggest leaks in the history of Doctor Who. After the overnight success of Rose and the overwhelming positivity about Doctor Who's future, the party screeched to a halt a short while later, when the news of Eccleston's departure was leaked by the BBC. In a false statement that was released without consent, the BBC claimed Eccleston feared typecasting. They later apologised to Eccleston for this. The actor has since blamed the working environment on his first and only series. Eccleston had legitimised the show again, which meant it was no longer a punching bag of the tabloids. However, his departure began an ongoing obsession with behind-the-scenes dramas on the BBC's flagship show. I mean, yeah, look at all the articles that said that Chris Chibnall had been fired. You know, that's all you really need to know about that. Doctor Who does guarantee headlines, but those headlines don't always have the best intentions. So yeah, that one was pretty mad. Like, obviously, as they say, they kind of attributed a fake quote to Eccleston and kind of announced him leaving early, which was kind of a bad move, and probably the only instance here of the BBC themselves actively, like, trying to leak something, I guess. I mean, you could kind of say that, like, the sort of black and white Series 8 tapes were also kind of a result of one of the BBC's divisions, the, Latin America sort of translation sort of division. But even then, this was much more intentional than those ever were. But yeah, this was actually a really fun little memory lane trip through all the leaks of Doctor Who history. A fun fact for you is actually my first leak that I ever remember is I remember my auntie sending me some footage on WhatsApp, I think, of Thin Ice being filmed, and I remember being so mesmerised by it, like, whoa, this footage is, probably not being seen by anyone else but me. This is before I had Twitter, so the likelihood is it probably was seen on Twitter, but for me it was like, oh, I found this secret sort of forbidden fruit that no one else has, and I think that might have started my obsession with looking into, leaks, whether they're true or not, and yeah, so you all have that to thank for me, I guess. But let me know if you enjoyed this video, comment down below any leaks you remember, please like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you later.